I'm 31 years old. I just got diagnosed with freaking ADHD, and it explains a lot. Let's chat about it. Oh, shoot. What's up, guys? I'm Becca. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Normally, I do hair content, but today we're jumping ship, and we're talking about me being diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 31. This has been a long journey, like 3 years in the making. And the reason I decided to get tested for ADHD or evaluated for ADHD was because I'm a psychopath. Not really, but because I was just starting to really struggle with like everyday life and I was getting really overwhelmed. I have 2 small children under the age of 3, and I was just having a difficult time, and I felt like I should be doing better, and I wasn't. Let me take you back to the beginning. So I was born in 1990, 1900s. Watch out. I am a legend. No, that's not the right word. I'm an antique, some people might say. In the 90s, we grew up in a time where people didn't think that ADD or ADHD was a thing. 10 years ago, they combined the two, so now it's just ADHD. So that's what I'm gonna call it today. And really, then people would just say that like kids just needed to go outside and like play more, get more in the sunshine, like climb trees, like get their energy out. They didn't necessarily believe that there was some sort of neurological, what's the word I'm looking for? Wiring issues, that's what I'm looking for. People didn't really think that there was actually legit like neurological brain wiring issues. Issues sound so bad because having ADHD can also be a superpower. This is gonna be a wild ride because I'm not using a script and I'm just going off of my brain, which is a scary thing sometimes, okay? I definitely grew up in that same culture, that same environment where we just didn't believe that ADHD was a thing. Just stop eating sugar and exercise and you'll be fine. That didn't work for me. And I would say that all throughout school, I was like a decent student, but like I was not excelling. And honestly, I hated school and I struggled paying attention. I am a slow reader, so I have a hard time comprehending what I'm reading. So I just did enough to get by, and I was like kept quiet and was nice. So I just could slide under the radar, graduate, and be done. And then I chose a profession or multiple professions, very typical of an ADHDer, that didn't require a lot of like book work, and I could work with my hands and keep busy while I'm doing certain tasks. So I went to school for commercial photography, and then after that I got my cosmetology license and did hair, and I chose careers that I chose careers that I could comfortably live in with my brain, right? Like I was never career oriented. And honestly, I think part of that is because I just never thought that I could follow through. And I feel like that has been one of my main issues with ADHD throughout my life, that I never really knew that it was like a thing until I started thinking like maybe I have ADHD, because a lack of follow through is like a major thing for people with ADHD. And that is like me, okay? And I get so excited about new things, and I get all of this energy for all of these different like hobbies, and I like spend so much money like wanting to do them, and then it's like done in a month, right? Anyone else? Okay, leave me a comment. Is that you? Because that's me. My husband, God bless him, has been on this journey of ADHD discovery with me, and it has definitely impacted our marriage in ways that we didn't know about, but now we have language and verbiage to be able to discuss it and to identify it and help us communicate better in our marital relationship. Wouldn't you say that's accurate? He's behind the camera. So why did I decide to get evaluated? It started about 3 years ago. Excuse me, please do not put that in. Oh, maybe you can, I don't care. What the heck are you doing? Just going crazy. Y'all, if you don't follow me on TikTok, you need to, and if you're an ADHD creator, you need to be on TikTok. It'll give you a lot of dopamine. And we're back. So why did I decide to get evaluated for ADHD? It started about 3 years ago. We were having dinner with some friends, sitting down, and he's like, yeah, I just got diagnosed with ADHD. And I was like, that's interesting. That's not a thing. So I we were like, well, tell us more about it. And he's like, well, my therapist gave me this sheet and walked me through these questions, and I had most of them. And we were like, well, let's just answer them. Like, let's just have fun and answer them and see what happens. My husband and my friend's wife had maybe one of the things on the list, and me and him had like all of them. I think there was like 18 or 19 questions, and we had like most of them. That's when I started to think, well, hey, maybe my brain is just wired differently. Maybe I'm not a complete failure of a person. Maybe it's not a lack of motivation. Maybe it's not because I don't want to succeed in life, but I've never been given the tools or the language to discuss what's happening in my brain to reach the goals and make goals that I feel like are attainable for the way that my brain is wired. Ding! Light bulb. Well, you'd think it'd be like happy-go-lucky after that moment. Well, no. Because this little thing called a pandemic hit the world, and everyone apparently needed therapy when they were just sitting at home alone. It was extremely difficult to find a therapist. And one of the things that I struggle with is making phone calls. I hate it. I hate doing it. I don't know why. I mean, part of it I think is an ADHD thing, but I just hate, I can't explain it. It's just really hard for me to call people and make appointments. So I sat down one day, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I called 7 people, 7 different offices, and nobody had availability, or they wouldn't call me back, or it was just a nightmare. And so I kind of gave up, honestly. I was like, just forget it. This isn't that important. Also, on top of that, my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and I spent half a year, helping her as her primary caregiver and walking with her through death and all that comes with that. And then I got pregnant with my second child very soon after that. So my whole 2021 was just crazy. And I just didn't have time or energy emotionally to even think about it. And then my lovely husband was like, hey, where are you at with this ADHD thing? Are you still wanting to do anything with it? And I was like, yes. So thankfully we have really great insurance. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go through my primary care doctor. Maybe she knows what's happening. So at my follow-up appointment after my son, I was like, hey, can I get an appointment or a referral to a psychiatrist or a therapist or whatever? Because I think I need some help. And there we are. I went to my psychiatrist appointment. She's like, all right, let's go through the questions. And I have never scored higher on a test in my life. Passed with flying colors. ADHD, more the attention part of it versus the hyperactivity part of it. Obviously, the only thing that's hyperactivity with me is I'm very fidgety. I need to talk with my hands. I'm usually always fidgeting with things. My knee is always tapping. Ugh, it's overwhelming. I always feel like I want to go somewhere, because one thing that I've learned with ADHD is that you're always looking for a dopamine hit, right? So you're wanting something to satisfy this part in your brain that needs that fun, that needs that attention, which is one reason why people go from job to job to job to job when they have ADHD, because they're just not satisfied and they nothing is exciting. Let me tell you, I've learned a lot about myself. Things, not necessarily things that I love yet. I'm learning to love those things, but it's helped me have grace. I'm getting emotional. It's helped me have grace and language that I can use to talk to myself and talk to other people about that are close to me, to help me understand and help them understand kind of what's happening in my brain. I have an eyelash. One thing that has majorly helped me, and I found this before I actually officially got diagnosed, was a podcast by Amanda Hirsch, I think is her name. I can look it up, but I'll link it below. And it's called the I Have ADHD podcast. And she just talks about entrepreneurship, ADHD in women, just how it affects your daily life. And I found it so helpful because it makes me feel like I'm a part of a community that understands me. That I'm not this complete failure of a person, and there is some just different wiring in my brain that I have no control over, but I can control what I do with this information now moving forward. And I would say her podcast has helped immensely. So I'll make sure to link that below. I love it. So where am I at now? I haven't decided yet if I want to take medication for my ADHD. I'm not against it. I'm just haven't made the final decision. You know, right now, coffee is kind of my stimulant, and not saying it's the best option, but it is an option that is helpful for me. The crash with caffeine, not so good, and that is not medical advice. I'm not telling you to take caffeine if you have ADHD, but I just haven't decided yet if I want to take medication for it. We'll see. Might be something I decide in the future. If you have any experience with ADHD medication that you want to share, leave a comment. I don't know if I have anything else to say. Oh, I do. I'm very forgetful. Getting out of the house, oh my gosh, is like a nightmare because I forget like 1,000 things. Anyway, I also have a therapy appointment coming up, and I'm hopeful that we can talk about ways that I can learn how to cope with my ADHD and motherhood and my life and my business, just like different ways to help me cope with how my brain works. And I think a really important thing for me is not looking at it as like, here's my excuse for why all of this stuff happens, but more of this is an explanation maybe, and not using it as an excuse to get out of things, but helping myself learn and process how my brain works so that I can try and set myself up for success instead of just knowing like I'm not going to be able to follow through on that and everyone around me is just going to be disappointed. So I just will give up and go lay in bed because it's not worth it. So instead, being able to use language that I can say, well, here's what I need to help me get to the finish line. My husband has been very gracious in learning all of this stuff with me, but being able to tell him what I need, or here are the obstacles that I feel like I'm going to need to face, and I might need some help getting over these mountains, because in my head they feel like mountains where it might be just like a little tiny rock that I just need to hop over. Where was I going with that? Oh, cope in my daily life. In motherhood, one of the main things that I feel like is auditory stimulation is like really hard for me to like process what's happening if there's a lot of incoming noise, which if you have kids, you know that noise happens a lot. And with 2 kids, it's like doubled. One's crying, one's asking to watch a show, one needs crackers, one just pooped and is crying and like crying and crying. So that's one way in motherhood I've really seen it at work and really struggle with. But you know, some days we just have some independent playtime where it's quiet in the house and nobody is talking at me or touching me. Just like, maybe that's just a motherhood thing in general and not ADHD, but I need that in my life. So I'm hopeful that the therapy will be helpful and beneficial and help me just process and have someone on my side that I can just talk about me without feeling like I need to make excuses or I need to qualify or give backstory, but just explore what is my spaghetti brain. So, thanks for watching this video. It's a little different than my normal ones. If you like all sorts of hair content, I make tons of videos on YouTube and TikTok. I make way more on TikTok, so make sure to go follow me. I have an Instagram where you can see the behind the scenes of my life. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Actually, don't subscribe. I have enough subscribers. No, please subscribe. That'd be great. And hit the bell so you're notified every time I post new videos. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.